These floating islands in Peru are like no other place in the world, but are they worth visiting or are they a total tourist trap? This video is going to give you everything you need to decide for yourself. But first, let's break down where Uros Islands are and what makes them one of a kind. Uros Islands are located on Lake Titicaca, the highest navigable lake in the world. They have been around for thousands of years, hand-built entirely from reeds. The Uros people actually predate the Incas, and they built these islands to escape conflict with regional empires. They're still inhabiting these islands today, which makes it a fascinating experience to visit the communities and get a taste for their daily life. However, while it's a one-of-a-kind experience, many complain that visits to Uros feel artificial, manufactured, and gimmicky, rather than a genuine cultural immersion. To help you decide for yourself, I'm going to walk you through everything we did during our time there and share some important things to consider when thinking about visiting Uros during your Peru trip. So let's dive in. We arrived in Puno at night and were picked up by our host in his family boat. We arrived at our lodge just in time for dinner by firelight. One thing to know if you're staying in a floating lodge, resources are limited on the island, so expect simple meals, dry toilets, and low water pressure when showering. We woke in the morning to stormy weather. Nevertheless, opening the curtains to the lake surrounding us was unreal. Oh my gosh, you guys, this right here, floating on an island in the middle of Lake Titicaca, away from civilization, away from everything that we've been around for the last week. Busy, chaos, people. It's been so beautiful and busy, but it's just so nice to take a step back, spend a few nights away from everything, let the air flow through our hair, even if it's a bit chilly. It's just perfect. Like, this is seriously paradise in every way. We enjoyed a slow morning on the terrace, explored the family property, and even made friends with the adorable resident island kittens. Our host grew up in Uros, and like many other locals, he invested in the property to support his family. You see this when you search for floating lodges in Uros. The list is endless and also always changing, so the options are overwhelming. I can actually no longer find this exact property, but I'll link the second one we stayed at in the description. After breakfast, we were taken for our visit to the central floating villages in Uros. This was part of a coordinated 2-day cultural tour, and the visit to Uros was scheduled for the first half of the day. Day 1 on Lago Titicaca. Our first stop is the Uros floating islands this morning. The weather is a bit unpredictable. It's a bit cloudy, cold, and windy, but it's still so beautiful. And as we've learned, things can change really quickly here, so we'll see how everything unfolds. Our host dropped us off on one of the islands where we would wait for our tour guide, and we were immediately swooped up by the local chief who gave us a tour of their homes and dropped us off in front of the stands selling souvenirs. Nobody seemed to know where we were supposed to be, but we rolled with it. I was fully entertained anyways with the strange sensation of walking on the floating reeds. Walking on these islands is quite the experience. Every step is a bit different. Like when you step down, maybe one melts a bit and it feels like you might go through, and others are like more firm. It's really interesting, actually. So these are all reeds that are stacked on top of sticks, basically. And it's not super thick, but they managed to float up above the lake. So yeah, super interesting. We were then picked up by another chief who took us to his island, where we got to learn a bit more about how the islands are actually made. In short, they're built by stacking thick blocks of buoyant reed roots and layering dried reeds on top to create a stable surface. Because the bottom layers rot over time, they require constant maintenance by adding to the top. The visit also included an explanation of the indigenous languages of the lake as well as their local foods. I enjoyed learning about their various preservation methods to store food for long periods of time, since many families don't have refrigeration in their homes. We were left time to shop at the many stands on the island. We did feel a bit of pressure from the chief and his family to buy something, so we ended up buying some little trinkets that are now sitting on my bookcase. After that, we were encouraged to take a short ride on their traditional style reed boats, or balsas, which are also made from reeds and often decorated with carved animal heads. This ride lasted about 5 minutes and felt a little bit more like an additional money-making opportunity, especially since not only did we have to pay for the ride, but the chief's son sang songs for us during the whole ride and expected tips after. We were then dropped off at the last stop of our visit, which was essentially a coffee and snack area with more souvenirs. This is where I encountered my new favorite Peruvian snack. We're trying the local quinoa bread. It seems to be probably made of quinoa flour and then deep fried. I don't know if it's sweet or savory, so we'll see. Oh wow. That's really nice actually. It's kind of, it's not sweet, but it's not savory. And you don't taste like the fried too much. I would be so surprised that's of quinoa. All right. Yeah, this is the local, maybe the local breakfast here or one of the popular snacks to eat. And that concluded our official visit of the main Uros Islands. We continued on to the next part of our tour, which was an overnight cultural exchange homestay on one of Lake Titicaca's more remote islands. I highly recommend this experience to enjoy a real, authentic, and immersive experience on the lake, so make sure to check out my video on Amantani and Tequila after this. We just arrived back to Uros, and we are on our way to our second lodge in Uros, in this little boat. You see, the Uros Islands are all around us. So there are almost 200 islands here, I believe. I think 180 or 120, something like that. Something like that. There is a lot of islands in this area, all the floating islands. And our lodge, I believe, is in the northern part of the Uros. So we're headed there now to check in and get some relaxation in for the rest of the day. The next day, once we finished our cultural tour, we stayed one last night on Uros Islands at this beautiful lodge. It was so nice to slow down and take in the peace and tranquility of life on the lake. After an adventurous last couple of days on the islands of Amantani and Tequila, days that were filled with hiking, not showering, activities back to back, socializing, learning, everything was so beautiful, but we're exhausted at this point, and now it's just perfect to get to our lodge and have nothing around us but reeds, water, mountains, and we're just hearing the wind through the reeds, the water lapping up on the shore, and this here is our view from the outdoor bed. Oh my goodness. Our last night here on Lake Titicaca. I'm in my cozies. I'm staying here for the foreseeable future. That is for the rest of this evening. We spent half a day relishing in the art of doing nothing but listening to the wind flow through the reeds and watch birds glide over the water. This lodge was magical and even came with the sweetest fluffy host named Blue, because he has the most beautiful blue eyes that you can't see now because he's closed and just relaxing, feeling the wind, feeling the cuddles. But he is the cutest. Oh my gosh.
Blue?
See? Yes. Thank you for the warm welcome. As you can see, he is irresistible. We were rewarded for slowing down with the most magical sunset we saw in our entire trip to Peru. Had to get out of the bath to see this sunset. Just look. Honestly, the sunsets alone make Lake Titicaca a must on your Peru itinerary. As you can see, there are many ways in which the Uros Islands experience does indeed feel commercialized and curated, and I understand why many people walk away feeling disappointed, especially when they only do this short day trip to Uros without exploring other islands. Even though parts of it can feel staged or overly tourist-focused, it's important to remember that tourism is also what helps sustain life on the islands today, from education to basic livelihoods. The Uros aren't a theme park creation. This is an ancient culture that adapted to survive in a unique environment, and that story still exists beneath the surface of the tourist experience. The key is how you visit. Short, mass tours can feel surface level and transactional, but slower, community-led visits or homestays offer a much more meaningful connection. So while it may feel commercial at times, your experience and your impact really depends on the choices you make as a visitor. Here's my recommendation to you. Don't skip Uros, but don't stick only to the typical visit to the main islands. Linger, stay in a family-run floating lodge, enjoy the beauty of this area, and put your money back into the community. I promise you'll leave with a much better impression of these one-of-a-kind islands. And that's a wrap for Uros, friends. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe for more of the best bucket list travel ideas and itineraries. I'll see you in Amantani and Tequila Islands in my next video for the homestay experience you cannot miss while visiting Lake Titicaca.